Hi everyone, my name is Yonut and I'm a business analyst in the accounting expertise team at Odoo. Welcome to this talk about the automated entries at the service of the accountant. And speaking about accountants, I am sure that many of them are following this talk either on site or online on this fantastic accounting day at the Odoo Experience 2022. Any of those accountants will tell you that on their day-to-day work, they encounter many repetitive tasks because, well, it's the nature of the job, but there are also some activities which take a lot longer than they should. Good news for everyone, with Odoo 16, we will be able to automate most of those tasks. Today, we will discuss the automated entries, specifically the deferred revenue and expense and the creation of assets, and later on, we'll see how to post accruals and how to perform mass adjustments. Overall, during this presentation, you will learn about multiple ways in which automation and time saving can be achieved. So let's get started with the first topic of today, deferred revenue and expense. In Odoo, we can create deferred models, which are basically templates for Odoo to perform calculations in the background, and we can also choose to automate the creation and validation of those calculations, while Odoo will always automatically post the related journal entries on their accounting date. And all of that can be achieved without a single click. How amazing is that? We can also fully automate the creation of assets. So in Odoo, the asset models work in a very, very similar way to the deferred expense models that we saw earlier. But additionally, we have a brand new depreciation computation. We can create negative assets and we can cancel existing ones. Even more, we can combine all that we've seen so far with the extremely powerful OCR and artificial intelligence tools of Odoo, so that we can fully get rid of some of those repetitive tasks that I talked about at the beginning of the presentation. Those are some really big words, aren't they? Well, I'm gonna back them up with facts. It's time to go to the database and see the first demo of today. I will start on my accounting dashboard and I will go to the vendor bills. And from here, I can upload some documents. And you can see now they have been uploaded and Odoo is computing in the background. It's scanning the PDFs, reading the information, and filling in the fields on the document itself so that you don't have to do it manually. Of course, this is very convenient because let's say in the morning you have a bunch of PDFs, you can just upload them, let Odoo do its work, and you can go have a coffee, have a chat, and when you are back, the data should be already be filled in. So let's take a look. I have here my first document. It has not been fully scanned yet because, well, it takes some time. But the first glance, you see that the PDF is already there. And you have a banner here saying that Odoo is working with the artificial intelligence to transfer the information from the PDF to the invoice form. So let's take a look at the other one and I'll just click refresh. That will help it. And as you can see, the bill has been populated by artificial intelligence. We have all the information from the PDF filled in here. So I'll have my vendor, which, by the way, if it doesn't exist in your database, Odoo will create it automatically and will even fill in the VAT number. Then we have the bill reference, the bill date, the recipient bank, due date, and so on. There are some fields, though, that you will not see on the PDF of any invoice anywhere, and those are the account and the taxes. And that's where the artificial intelligence comes in, because it will recognize that for this vendor and this type of purchase, we need to use the furniture and vehicles account and the 21% car tax. The 21% car is a specific tax for Belgium, which means that 50% of the expense is disallowed. Now, once I have all the information filled in, I can click confirm. And that's the only click I'll actually have to do today, because now my asset has been created. So now I have a smart button here saying I have one asset created, and the color is black, which means that the status is running. It has been created and validated. As I go in here, you'll see that there's a lot of information which has been filled in from the invoice itself, but there are some things which of course were not there, like the depreciation method, the duration, and the accounts I'm using for my depreciation, obviously. But those are filled in because I pre-configured an asset model and I set it up on automatic. Why is that? Because I know that every time I create a vehicle asset, I will depreciate it following the same method. So it's fine if it gets created automatically. What's more, here on the bottom, you see a depreciation board. So these are the computations that Odoo has done in the background, and you can see how the asset gets depreciated over time until it gets to a value of depreciable value of 0. What's interesting about this is that these are not just computations, they are in fact journal entries, and I can see them from here. Even though it says 0 posted entries, I can still click on the bottom button and I will have all the information here. And like I promised, Odoo will post these entries automatically. So if I open any of them, you will see a banner saying that this move is configured to be posted automatically at the accounting date. So in this case, 31st of December 2024. So Odoo will do all the work for you, and you won't have to worry about posting these entries anymore. So let's go back to our other document, which Odoo has finished scanning, and you'll see that again all the information has been filled in on my bill. And again, I have all the fields. I have the vendor which has been created, and of course, again, Odoo has identified my account and my taxes. So once I confirm, now I have a deferred expense created, and it's red. Why is that? Because it's in status draft. And this is something I chose to do because every deferred expense is different, and I might want to depreciate it over 6 months instead of 12, or 12 instead of 6, or any other period. So I predefined 2 deferred expense models for 6 and 12 months. And as you can see here on my screen, the accounts are not filled in yet, and the number of recognitions is set as 5 years. So if I click on 6 months, for example, 6 months, now my number of recognitions is 6 months, and the accounts have been filled in. If I click on 12 months, then the number of recognitions changes, of course. So in this case, since it's a draft, I have to do an additional click, which is confirm my deferred expense. And now I'll have my expense board. And if you look carefully, one of the lines is gray, and it has a journal entry assigned. So if I go to my posted entries, you will see that this is already posted. Why is that? Because the date is in the past, it's 31st of August. So it has been posted automatically, but the others will be posted at their accounting date. So to sum up, we can create assets and deferred expenses or income, because they work in the same way, with one click, confirming the vendor bill, and that's it. Odoo does all the work for us. So let's go back to the presentation and see the next topics of today. Accruals with one click. In Odoo, we differentiate between the cutoff and the accrued revenue or expense. So the cutoff relates to vendor bills or customer invoices which span multiple periods, while the accrued revenue and expense allows the recognition of the expense in the period when it was incurred, not paid. And this can be achieved again with one single click, and that's really automation at your fingertips. Finally, we can also perform mass adjustments, which can be used for corrections, adjustments, and posting of accruals. But the key point here is that all of this can be performed for multiple entries at once. So you can select as many journal entries as you want, and you'll be able to do all these actions with one single click. So that's really the power of automation of Odoo. Let's go back to the database and see the second demo. For this one, I will go now to my purchase app, and imagine it's the end of the period and you have to verify if you have received all the vendors from your bills. All the bills from your vendors. So if I open this, you will see that for this purchase order, I have a quantity of 4 and a received quantity as well as 4. So I received all of my products, but the billed quantity is 0. So nothing has been billed. I did not receive the invoice from my vendor. So that means I have to create an accrued expense entry. I'll choose my account and I will choose the reversal date. So let's say 1st of October, because I expect to receive my vendor bill in October. What this will do is will post a journal entry in this current period to recognize my expense, and it will reverse it in the next period so that there's no impact on my P&L when the vendor bill arrives. So let's create the entry and see what happens. I have one entry which has been already posted, like I said, in the current period. And I have a second one, which is the reversal, that will be posted automatically at the accounting date that I selected, so 1st of October. The same process applies for the sales. So if I go to a sales order, I could do exactly the same. But now I'm going to show you another feature, which is very convenient, is the orders to invoice on my sales app. So in this menu here, in this view, Odoo will check on all the sales order to see which have been delivered and not invoiced. And again, I can select multiple ones, click on action, and create an accrued revenue entry. And I'll choose the same way a reversal date. What's interesting here is that I will not have different journal entries for each of my sales orders, but I will have one single entry which will combine the income accounts and the balance for all of those uninvoiced sales orders. So if I create the entry, again, I have one posted one and one is in draft, and you can see I have 3 lines for my income, one for each sale order with the description of the product, and this will be posted automatically on the accounting date, which is 1st of October. Now let's imagine it's the end of the month and I need to have a check on the status of my accounting. So I'll go to the journal items. Here I have some predefined filters and I can see 2 accounts, the purchase of raw materials and purchase of services, works, and studies. So here, at a glance, I can see what's the status, and there's a few things that really surprise me. So first of all, if I look here, I have some other services, I have insurance, again, insurance, and they're all under the account purchase of raw materials. That doesn't seem right, so I'll need to reclass them and move them to my purchase of services, of course. How can I do that? Well, in a very simple way. I can just select, I'll just zoom in a bit so you can see the label, yeah. So I can just select these entries and I will click on the account itself and I will be able to change it. Sorry, let's do it again. And now Odoo will ask me if I want to perform the update on these 3 records, the 3 records I selected. If I click OK, Odoo will apply the change to all of them. So if I update my view, now you'll see that those services have moved to the right period, which is the purchase, to the right account, which is the purchase of services, works, and studies. There are a few other things that you can change from this view, and those are the labels. So if there's a mistake in the label, you can correct it, or the tax grids, which you can update with a simple click. And once you do that, Odoo will update it for all the entries that you have selected. Now, looking at my labels, there's a couple more things I notice here, is that I have a security services which cover 2 periods, and like I said during my presentation, that's an accrual. I have to recognize my expense in both periods. And as it goes from the 15th of September to the 15th of October, I'm going to say that 50% of the expense, so half of the 834 euros, belongs in September, and the other one belongs in October. So I can just click Action, Automatic Entries, and here I have the option to change the period or change the account. In this case, I'm going to change my account. I'm going to change my period. I'm going to select my account, and I have to choose a recognition date. So let's say that will be 30th of September, and of course, I have to use 50% of the amount, 834. So if I say 50 here, Odoo will compute and it will post an accrual for 417 euros. If I click on Create Journal Entries, you will see both are created, one with the date of 9/30 and one that will be posted automatically on the accounting date of the next period. In the same way, there are a few others. I have services which are recognized in October, because the date is 1st of October, but they belong to September. So in the same way, I can select the 3 of them, click on Action, and click on Automatic Entries. And here I can choose to change the period, again with the same account. So I will say this have to be recognized in September, and this time I'll use the 100% of the amount. If you look carefully, my journal entries now will contain different lines for each expense. So I have here other services, insurance September, and other insurance, and they will all be under the same journal entry. Once I click on Create Journal Entries, you will see that the journal entries are created, and again, one of them will be posted automatically on the accounting date on the 1st of October with these expense accounts and the accrued charges. That's pretty cool, isn't it? Everything with one single click. So, to sum up, today we have seen how we can automate our accounting by posting, by creating assets automatically, creating deferred expense and income, and by posting accruals and performing mass adjustments. In essence, how to simplify and automate your accounting with Odoo. Thank you all for your attention, and it's time for the Q&A. While the questions come up, I had a few other things prepared. So, for example, here I have a security service which spans 2 periods, so 15th of September to 15th of October. How I can handle that? Because that expense should be recognized partly in September and partly in October. Again, I could go from the bill, and in the journal items, I have this feature cutoff. If I click on it, now with the accrued charges, I could recognize part of this expense in September, and I'm going to say 50% of it. And once I create the journal entries, they will be posted automatically. And again, one is in September, one is, in October. All right, so again, automatic.
Okay, still no questions, so I think it was very clear for everyone. And
Well, then thank you. thank you, everyone. And someone is saying they put a question.
I had nothing.
Okay, let me.
Thank you. Oh, there's a lot of questions here.
Okay.
But this is the same. Okay. Is it possible to set a recurring entry to which the user can specify the specific debit and credit accounts?
Yes, we can create, for example, from the vendor bills. If I can choose any of them, here I should have the auto post. So I can edit that. Well, now I would have to create a new bill, but I can edit that and I can choose when I want this to be posted automatically. So for example, if I have a vendor bill that appears every month, I'm just going to say I want this to be posted monthly, and Odoo will post it, in this case, 12th of October. But once it posts that, this date will change to 12th of November and so on. So it's all, again, automatic.
Okay, I think we have time for one more. So what to do with the negative assets recorded afterwards?
The negative asset, once you either create it manually from the asset or based on a vendor bill, Odoo recognizes it automatically as a negative asset. It will be in your depreciation schedule. Sorry, I need to, yeah. It will be in depreciation schedule as negative, and Odoo will slowly compute that over the period you defined until it gets to 0. The same as for the positive assets.
Okay.
All right?
Right.
I think we're out of time then.
Yes.
Again,
Thank you.
thank you all for your attention, and enjoy the rest of the Odoo experience.